Hey there, and welcome back to the HQ. Today, we are going to be reacting to The History of Japan by Bill Wirtz. Now, if you've seen all of my oversimplified stuff, you know I'm a bit of a history buff, and I like to learn about history. This one is only 9 minutes long, but it's the entire history of Japan, I guess. So, I'm kind of curious as how this is going to tell the history of Japan. I wonder if it's going to be like all condensed, like oversimplified, or what. But, I mean, the view count speaks for itself that this is going to be something. So let's just jump right into this and learn all about Nippon/Japan.
Japan is an island by the sea filled with volcanoes and...
That it is. Oh. It's going to be one of these kinds of videos, huh? It also is beautiful, by the way. I haven't been, but I want to.
In the year -1 billion, Japan might not have been here.
Probably
in
not.
In the year -40,000, it was here, and you could walk
yes,
to
it was.
And some people walked to it. Then it got warmer, some icebergs melted, it became an island, and now there's lots of trees.
Oh, yes, there is. That is pretty much how migration to the island worked. Because before, it didn't used to be an island.
Because it's warmer. So now there's people on the island. They're basically sort of hanging out in between the mountains, eating nuts off trees, and using the latest technology, like stones and bowls.
That is a pretty sick technology.
World, and they have technology from the future, like really good metal
the Bronze
and
Age,
crazy rice farms. Now you can make a lot of rice really, really quickly. That means if you own the farm, you own a lot of food, which is something everybody needs to survive.
That do be how it work, though. That do be how it work.
So that makes you king. Rice farming and rice kingdoms spread across the land, all the way to here. The most important kingdoms were here, 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 and here. But this one was the most important.
Named after our favorite best boy. but for real, shout out Yamato. Best boy. Best boy One Piece.
Ruled by a heavenly superperson, or emperor for short.
Oh.
Knock, knock, get the door. It's religion. The new prince wants everyone to try this hot new religion from Biekt. Please try this religion, he said.
Biekt?
No, said everybody. Try it, he said. No, said everybody again.
That really do be how it goes.
And so the religion was put into place.
Yep, that's how it goes.
Then the government was taken over by another clique, and they made some reforms, like making the government govern more, and making the government more like China's government, which is a government that governs more.
Oh, I'm sure that's gonna go well.
Hi, dipshit, said China.
I'm sure that's going to go well, considering just how many collapses that China went through throughout its history. Like, if you've ever gone through a basic, like, history class, the amount of times China has, like, come together and then collapsed again, like my world history class, like, most of it, like, the most I remember was just, like, the comedic number of times.
Can you call us something else other than dipshit? Said Japan. Like what? Said China. How about Sunrise Land? Said Japan. And they stole China's alphabet and wrote a book about themselves. And then they made lots of poetry and art and another book about themselves. Then they stopped moving the capital every time the emperor died and kept it in one place for a while, right?
They just kept moving it around? What? What? That just sounds really inconvenient. Like you would build like a palace and then the emperor has a stroke and you're like, shit! That would suck.
Here. And they conquered the north, finally. Get that squared away.
Yeah, get that done.
A rich hipster
go up there and take over that Hokkaido.
Visits China and learns a better version, which is more spiritual. Comes back, reinvents the alphabet.
I didn't know there was more than one version of Buddhism.
For a long time. And the royal palace turned into such a dream world of art that they really didn't give a shit about running the country.
Japanese art really is nice.
Palace, how are you supposed to protect your shit from criminals? Hire a samurai. Everyone started hiring samurai. Rich, important people hired samurai. Poor people who could not afford to hire samurai did not hire samurai.
Well, that's a
samurai
good disclaimer.
Organized and powerful. More powerful than the government. So they made their own military government here.
Yep. That's when basically the government kind of just became nothing and the shogunate took over.
They let the emperor still be emperor, but the shogun is actually in control.
Yep.
Breaking news, the Mongols
military
have invaded
coup.
China.
We've invaded China,
said the Mongols.
Please respect us, or else we might invade you.
Yeah, the Mongols, like, just invaded everybody. Like, Genghis Khan just took over everything. Like, he was like, nobody could stop him. And, like, it's so funny how, like, if you take Genghis Khan out of the equation, so much of world history changes. So much. Like if you take Genghis Khan out of the equation, it's like Russia probably, as like a unified state, probably wouldn't exist today. Because it's only because of the actions of Genghis Khan in invading the Ruslands that the various tribes of Russia actually came together to rebuild after the Mongols just kind of dipped. So it really is kind of amazing. Like, just how much changes if you take Genghis Khan out of the equation.
as well.
Okay, said Japan. So the Mongols came over, ready for war, and died in a tornado. But they tried again
Yeah.
and had a nice time fighting with the Japanese, but then died in a tornado.
Yeah, this moment right here is such a galvanizing moment for like for the Japanese. And it's like so much of this moment here is seen as like divine like interference in favor for the Japanese. And such a huge part of their culture. Like, there's a reason why for so long the Japanese people thought that they were like God's chosen people, because like how else were they not if this massive invading force was repeatedly just beaten back by like typhoons in the ocean? It had to have been some kind of divine intervention. You know, that's basically what the Japanese thought back then. And it's like such an ingrained part of Japanese like Japanese culture.
And the emperor overthrows the shogunate. Then the shogunate overthrows him back and moves to Kyoto and makes a new shogunate. And the emperor can still dress like an emperor if he wants. That's fine. Now there's more art. Like painting with less colors, collaborative poetry, plays, monkey fun, tea parties, gardening, architecture, flowers. It's time for
it keeps
who's
going.
going to be the next shogun. Usually it's the shogun's kid, but the shogun doesn't have a kid. So he tries to get his brother to quit being a monk and be the next shogun. He says okay, but then the shogun has a kid. So now who's it going to be? Vote now on your phones. And everyone voted so hard that the palace caught on fire and burned down. The shogun actually didn't care. He was off somewhere doing poetry. And the whole country broke into pieces. Everyone is fighting with each other for local power, and it's anybody's game. Knock, knock. It's Europe.
That do
no,
be
they're
how
not
it
here to
goes.
take over. They just want to sell some shit, like clocks and guns and Jesus. So that's cool, but everyone's still fighting each other for control. Now with guns.
That's
just
fantastic.
Nice to control the capital, which right now is puppets with no one controlling them.
Yeah,
this
pretty
clan
much.
is ready to make a run for it, but first they have to trample this smaller clan, which
The
is in the
Oda
way.
clan.
Surprise! The smaller clan wins.
Well, of course the smaller clan wins. They made One Piece. That's an automatic win.
And the leader of that clan steals the idea of invading the capital and invades the capital, and it goes very well. He's about halfway through conquering Japan when someone who works for him kills him, and then someone else who works for him kills them, and that guy finishes conquering Japan. And then he confiscated everybody's swords and made some rules. And now I'm going to invade Korea and then hopefully China, he said, and failed. And
that's not
died.
a good idea.
But before he
That's
died,
not a
he
good
told
idea at
these
all.
5 guys to take care of his 5-year-old son until he's old enough to be the next ruler of Japan. And the 5 guys said, yeah, right. It's not going to be this kid. It's going to be one of us, because we're grown-ups.
That's
And
usually
it's
how it
probably gonna
goes.
be this guy, who happens to be way more rich and powerful than the others.
Oh God, no. That's that's topical. That's real topical.
A lot of people support him, but a lot of people support not supporting him. They have a fight, and he wins, and starts a new government.
Another big war.
And he still lets the emperor dress like an emperor and have very nice things. But don't get confused. This is the new government.
Yeah,
and they're very
basically.
strict. So
Yeah. The shogunate ruled basically at every point where the shogunate was an established thing. Like, the shogunate was in charge. Like, it's only after like the destruction of the shogunate as we know it, where the emperor ever actually given power again.
strict, they closed the country. No one can leave, and no one can come in, except for the
Sakoku.
Dutch if they want to buy and sell shit. But they have to do it right here. Now that the entire country was not at war with itself, the population increased a lot. Business
Big
increased,
population.
schools were built,
Them
roads
people
were built,
be
everyone learned
fucking.
to read, books were published, there was poetry, plays, sexy times, puppet shows, and Dutch studies. People started to study European science from books they bought from the Dutch. We're talking geography, skeletons, physics, chemistry, astronomy, and maybe even electricity.
Wow, they're really catching on quick to stuff then.
Over time, the economic and
The
cultural
Dutch really
prosperity began
did
to
like
gradually slow
open
down.
them up.
Knock knock. It's the United States.
Oh no.
With huge boats.
Oh no.
Guns, gunboats. Open the country. Stop having it be closed, said the United States. There's really nothing they could do, so they signed a contract
Oh
that
my
lets the United
God.
States, Britain,
That
and
really
Russia
is
visit
the
Japan
United
anytime
States,
they want.
huh?
Choshu and Satsuma hated this. That sucks, they said. This sucks.
That's
And with almost
valid.
very little outside help, they overthrew the shogunate and somehow made the emperor again and moved him to Edo, which they renamed Eastern Capital. They made a new
Tokyo.
government, which was a lot more Western. They made a new constitution that was pretty Western, and a military that was pretty Western.
Oh
And
yeah.
do you know what else is Western?
Big military.
That's right. It's conquering stuff. So what can we conquer?
Oh,
Korea.
yeah, the British
They conquer
Empire is
Korea,
nutty.
taking it from its previous owner, China, and then go a little bit further. And Russia rushes in out of nowhere and says,
Oh.
no, you can't take that. We were going to build a railroad through here to try to get some warm water. And Russia builds their railroad, supervised by a shit ton of soldiers. And then when the railroad was done, they downgraded to a fuck ton. Did I say downgrade? I meant upgrade.
I was about to say that doesn't sound like much like a downgrade.
Japan says, can you maybe chill? And Russia says, how about maybe you chill?
Everybody
Japan is
needs to
kinda scared of
chill.
Russia. You'll never guess
Everybody
who's
just needs to
also
really
kinda scared of
chill.
Russia. Great Britain. So Japan and Great Britain make an alliance together so they can be a little less scared of Russia. Feeling confident, Japan goes to war against Russia, just for a moment, and then they both get tired and stop. It's time for World War I.
I mean, technically, in the Russo-Japanese War, Japan was seen as the winner of that war, you know. And the Russo-Japanese War was such a colossal embarrassment to Russia. It is one of the galvanizing catalysts that eventually leads to the Russian Revolution. I don't know the larger swaths of the Russian Revolution. That's on the list, though, with oversimplified. But I do know that one of the things that eventually leads to the Russian Revolution is the Russo-Japanese War, because of the fact that Russia, this much larger nation, lost a war with Japan. It was a very brief war, but they still lost, and it was one of the many factors that eventually led to it. But yeah, time for World War I.
The world is about to have a war, because it's the 1900s and weapons are getting crazy, and all these empires are excited to try them out on each other.
Yeah,
Meanwhile,
pretty
Japan has
much.
been enjoying conquering stuff and wants more. And the next thing on their list is this part of China and lots of tiny islands.
That's
all
not
that stuff belongs to
foreshadowing.
Germany, which just had war declared on it by Britain, because Britain was friends with Belgium, which was being trespassed by Germany in order to get to France to kick France's ass, because France is friends with Russia, who was getting ready to kick Austria's ass, because Austria was getting ready to kick Serbia's ass, because someone from Serbia shot the leader of Austria's ass. Or actually shot him in the head. And Britain is currently friends with Japan.
Yeah.
So you know what that means.
That's pretty much how it happened.
Should take the islands, which
Obviously.
they wanted to do anyway. So they called Britain on the telly to sort of let them know. And then and they also helped Britain a little here and there with some errands and stuff. Now the war is over, and congratulations, Japan. You technically fought in the war, which means you get to sit at the negotiating table with the big dudes, where they decided who owns what. And yes, Japan gets to keep all that shit they stole from Germany. You also get to join the post-war mega alliance, the League of Nations.
The League of Nations, a colossal failure, by the way. Like, the League of Nations is like a proto, the League of Nations is like a proto, God, what? Like, why the fuck is it slipping my mind? Why is the fucking international, community, yeah, it's... See, this is why you don't do anything on no sleep. Yeah, NATO. Well, I wouldn't even say NATO. But yeah, basically the League of Nations is a pretty bad start to trying to build a global alliance system. And it fell apart pretty hard. It fell apart pretty damn hard.
Whose mission statement is to try not to take over the world.
United Nations, that's what I was thinking of.
Japan's
I'm
economy
stupid.
is now crappy, but the military is doing just fine, and it invades Manchuria. In the League of Nations, it's like, no, don't do that. If you're in the League of Nations, you're not supposed to take over the world. And Japan said, how about I do anyway? And Japan invaded
how about I do
North
anyway,
China,
huh?
And was planning to invade the entire East.
You've got mail.
It's from Germany, the new leader of Germany. He has a cool mustache, and he's trying to take over the world and needs friends. This also got forwarded to Italy. They all decided to be friends because they had so much in common. It's time for World War II. Germany is invading the neighbors.
The squeakquel.
The neighbors' neighbors. Then the neighbors'
World War
neighbors'
II, the
neighbors, who happened
squeakquel.
to be Britain, said, holy shit. And the United States started helping Britain because they are good friends, and started not helping Japan because they're friends and our friends are not friends. Plus they're planning on invading the entire ocean.
God. You know, really funny story about high school. I, for real, had somebody, she was a couple grades lower than me, but I was pretty well into history at that point, and I was she was a freshman, I was a junior, and to say she was a weeaboo is a bit of an understatement. But I never thought I'd encounter somebody who is so much of like a Japanophile that they actually sat next to me and tried to justify Japan bombing Pearl Harbor. It was probably one of the hardest conversations I ever had to get through. And I was like, yeah, the US cut off Japan from their oil trade because of their actions in China. And it's like they tried to use that. Like they ignored the China stuff and just tried to justify Pearl Harbor to because the US cut oil supplies off to Japan. And as someone whose granddad, my great-grandfather, my great-grandpa Dykes, his nickname was Dykes because he was a stubborn asshole, like a beach dyke. And he was at Pearl Harbor. So trying to make that kind of argument with me, someone whose great-granddad was a survivor of Pearl Harbor, is not the best idea. Let me say that much. I did not enjoy that conversation.
The United States is also working on a large, very huge bomb, bigger than any other bomb ever.
It is
Just
a big
in
bomb.
case. But they still haven't joined the war. War looks bad on TV, and the United States is really starting to care about their image. But then Japan spits on them in Hawaii and challenges them to war.
That's
and they say yes.
that's a
And
way
then
to put it, I
Germany, as a
guess.
symbol of friendship,
That's a way to
declares war
put
on
it.
The United States also. So the United States goes to war in Europe, and they help the gang chase Germany back into Germany, and they also start chasing Japan back into Japan. And they haven't used
that's
the
how
bomb
it
yet,
goes.
and they're curious to see if it works, so they drop it on Japan. They actually dropped 2. United States installed a new
That'll
government
do
inspired
it.
by the United States government with just the right ingredients for a post-war economic miracle. And Japan starts making TVs, VCRs, automobiles,
yeah.
and camcorders as fast as they can.
They
and
just start
also better than
manufacturing like
everybody else.
crazy.
They get rich, and the economy goes wild. And then the miracle wears off. But everything's still pretty cool, I guess.
Well, that was the history of Japan, told in a very wild, very quick, very nutty way. There was a lot of stuff in there that I didn't know all too much about. A few things I did know about, but otherwise, you know, a lot of really wild stuff. Like told in a very, very ADHD kind of way. Like the editing style threw me off hard. Goddamn. Let me know what you think about that down in the comments below. What do you know about Japan? What's your favorite piece of Japanese history? What's your favorite anime? And why is it One Piece? Let me know down in the comments down below. And of course, don't forget to hit like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and ding that bell so you know when I upload, and it helps me out in the algorithm. And as always, I will see you next time at the HQ. Bye-bye.